10 Shocking Bible Truths Never Shared by the Church Until Now. Discover the Dark Secrets. In a world that prided itself on faith and hope, a storm was brewing in the shadows of the church, whispering stories that would make even the most devout cover their ears in terror. Secrets so old, so buried beneath layers of tradition and doctrine, they could send chills down the spine of anyone who dared listen. Legends spoke of hidden texts flecked with forbidden knowledge and miracles that went dark, tales that twisted the very fabric of what most believed. It was a revelation waiting to explode and ignite the faithful. It all started in the dim light of a small, forgotten chapel where an ancient manuscript was unearthed, its pages yellowed and crumbling. As the dust settled, those words began to reveal truths that had been silenced for centuries. Imagine finding out that the Lazarus who walked away from his tomb wasn't just a miracle but a twisted plot of betrayal. Or that the very waters of the Red Sea trembled not with divine will but from the dark rituals of ancient sorcerers. The palpable energy of the chapel pulsed with an electric unease, sending hunters of truth racing to uncover what lay hidden, but it didn't end there. Rumors of shrouded figures moving through the night, chanting in forgotten tongues, echoed against the stone walls, raising hairs and fears alike. People spoke in hushed voices about the strange glow seen illuminating the sky over old burial grounds, a sign. Or something darker. An indescribable tension curled around those who heard these stories, wrapping them in a web of curiosity and terror. And as they halfway convinced themselves these were tales of myth, an overwhelming fear settled into their bones. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The chapel doors creaked ominously as a cold wind swept through, leaving a haunting echo in its wake. The townspeople gathered, eyes wide with disbelief but drawn closer by an unexplainable pull. They felt the weight of curiosity thickening the air, each breath ricocheting off the crumbling walls. What if they were about to scrape away the surface of something terrifyingly large? The clock chimed ominously, and with every strike, it seemed that the truth would emerge. But what truth lay entwined in shadow? As they peered into the darkness around them, a question lingered: would they be prepared for the answers that might unlock doors best left closed? The wind howled through the cracks of the chapel, taking with it whispered fears and unformed thoughts. The townspeople exchanged nervous glances, a haunting realization dawning: this was no ordinary night. An uninvited sense of dread crawled beneath their skin, prickling at their nerves. As the last chime faded into an unnatural silence, Marissa, the town's librarian and an unlikely seeker of truth, stepped forward. Her heart raced. She had spent sleepless nights poring over texts, gathering pieces of a puzzle that seemed impossibly daunting. Shaking off her initial fear, she turned to the crowd. We need to uncover what's hidden in this chapel. We can't turn back now. A murmur rippled through the group. Some nodded, fueled by curiosity. Others clutched their rosaries tightly, as if seeking protection from unseen forces. Each breath echoed louder in the heavy air, amplifying the dread that had taken root in the chapel. Marissa moved cautiously towards the altar, the crumbling manuscript still resting there, a siren song of forbidden knowledge calling her closer. She could see the characters, strange and twisted, calling out to her. Every word felt charged, a spell waiting to be broken. Wait! Someone shouted from the back, a voice tinged with panic. It was Tom, a longtime resident known for his skepticism. You don't know what you're messing with. You could unleash something dark. But the thrill of discovery consumed Marissa. With trembling fingers, she reached out and touched the manuscript. Instantly, a chill raced through her, igniting memories of old tales told around campfires. Legends of shadows that roamed the night, spirits that lingered, and a hunger that required a sacrifice. Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting erratic shadows against the stone walls. Gasps of shock erupted among the townsfolk. Marissa's heart pounded, but she pushed through her rising fear, her pulse sinking with the isolation of the chapel. She began to decipher the cryptic lines, her voice a steadying force. With words of old, the circle shall break, a path shall reveal for the brave to partake. As the last syllable left her lips, a deafening roar erupted from beneath the floor. The ground trembled violently, sending everyone stumbling backward. Dark figures emerged from the shadows, their forms barely coherent. They appeared to dance wildly, chanting in maddening tones that sent chills racing down the spines of the townspeople. What did we awaken? Someone screamed, terror etched across their face as the air thickened with supernatural energy. The figures began to swirl faster, the echoes of their chants merging into haunting whispers. Marissa's gaze darted around the room, searching for some semblance of control. This had gone too far. In that moment, a sharp flicker of light illuminated a dark corner, revealing an ancient sigil carved into the wall. It pulsed rhythmically, as if alive, and Marissa felt a pull, a connection. "Don't look at it!" shouted Tom, but it was too late. Her mind raced, 1,000 thoughts colliding as the sigil's power reached out, intertwining with her very soul. The townspeople drew nearer, driven by chaos and intrigue, yet their gazes remained locked on Marissa, a mere librarian. She held the key to something unprecedented, reshaping their very understanding of faith and the unknown. But what would happen if she unlocked that potential? What unspeakable truth lingered just outside the grasp of their understanding? As the chant crescendoed, the room trembled with ominous power, the tension knitting tighter around the townspeople. With the final echo of her own heart, Marissa shouted, "What have we done?" And as darkness descended, a painful choice emerged. Would they stand firm in their faith, or would they unravel the sacred threads that tied their beliefs together? The air thickened. The shadows grew longer. An innocent act of discovery spiraled into an impending calamity, and the line between myth and reality blurred. What awaited them on the other side of their choice? What truths would they uncover, and would they be ready to bear the weight? The oppressive darkness enveloped the chapel, swallowing any glimmer of light that remained. Murmurs of fear echoed around Marissa as the shadows writhed and danced, seemingly mocking their terror. Heartbeats quickened, and breaths hitched as the swirling figures began to form, faces twisted, pained, eternally trapped in a limbo of sorrow. "No, no, no!" Tom shouted, stepping back with wide eyes. His skepticism faltered, and confusion took its place. Marissa felt the weight of his gaze, heavy with doubt and concern. She was the cause of this chaos, the igniter of some ancient nightmare. "Marissa," he pleaded, "stop. We didn't ask for this." But she couldn't stop. Something deep inside her felt the compulsion urging her onward, and a strange mixture of dread and exhilaration coiled around her like a serpent. She could almost hear the manuscript whispering to her, begging for release. With every pulse of the sigil, the figures in the shadows grew more distinct, fingers pointed accusingly, mouths opened in silent screams. Marissa's heart raced. They weren't just spirits, they were memories, echoes of those who had come before, trapped between realms. "Listen to them," she called, raising her voice above the chaos. "They are trying to tell us something." A flicker of recognition crossed several townsfolk's faces, and they formed a hesitant semicircle, drawn closer by the unsettling aura. They hadn't come here for adventure, they had come seeking a truth, a presence greater than themselves. Fear twisted in their bellies, but curiosity outweighed it in some, mingling faith with despair. Marissa braced herself, stepping closer to the sigil, feeling its energy resonate deep within her. She focused on the roiling shadows. What did they want? Was it peace? Was it vengeance? As if sensing her thoughts, a discordant wail rose, louder and more piercing than before, breaking free from the shapeless figures. "Sacrifice!" The chant bellowed, as though the very air vibrated with it. The congregation flinched at the word, eyes widening in horror. Sacrifice, a weighty term that carried ages of meaning. What do you mean? Marissa shouted into the void, her voice trembling. What do you want from us? Time seemed to freeze, the ethereal sounds of madness blending into a singular thrum. The malevolent entities coalesced into a massive shadow, looming threateningly. Its eyes were unblinking, searching, evaluating. An overwhelming sense of despair loomed, threatening to consume the chapel. I can't breathe. Someone gasped. The air felt thick with despair, almost suffocating. Get away from the sigil. Tom shouted again, but Marissa remained, transfixed. She could feel the weight of history pressing down on her, unraveling something deep within, a flicker of a memory long lost. Then it hit her, a revelation. It's not about what they want, it's about what we fear losing. Murmurs of doubt bubbled back up, but before she could explain further, the chapel window shattered. Glass rained down like tears, but no one dared to move. The swirling shadows pushed forward, clawing at their resolve. Suddenly, Marissa lifted her chin, emboldened by a surge of purpose. If we are to find liberation for them, we must first conquer our own fears. Unite. A sheet of silence fell as if the dark figures paused, caught by her words. Together. She pressed on. We must stand together. Whatever truth lies beyond this darkness, we have to face it. Together. The townspeople exchanged glances, hesitant still, but her conviction somehow sparked a flicker of hope among them. Tom stepped forward, giving her a determined nod. Then, in a flash, the sigil erupted in a blinding light, illuminating every corner of the crumbling chapel. A swirling vortex opened, inviting and terrifying all at once. The shadows howled, furious at her declaration, angry that their reign might end. What lies beyond it? Will it be salvation or damnation? Marissa wondered, her heart racing as the portal pulsed before her. Would they follow her into the unknown? Could they break the chains binding the spirits, or would they too become lost in the web of sacrifice, forever trapped in the darkness? As the ground trembled beneath them, a new choice loomed, staggering in its implications. One step forward could change everything or destroy them all. What awaited them in the swirling abyss? What truths remained hidden in the shadows, waiting to be unveiled? Marissa's heart raced as the light from the sigil surged and wrapped around her, a visceral rush of energy that felt almost alive. It pulsed like a heartbeat, synchronized with the frantic tempo of her own. The townsfolk around her stood frozen, caught in a web of fascination and dread, faces illuminated in flickering shadows, each expression a tapestry of hope and terror. What is happening? Tom shouted, breaking the spell of silence. Marissa, you have to trust me. She cried, summoning every ounce of strength she possessed. The swirling tendrils of shadow coiled around her, and the vortex beckoned like a siren's call, both enchanting and horrific. It felt as if an invisible hand reached out to her, and in that moment, she realized she wasn't just at the center of a catastrophe, she was its key. Remember. She shouted over the cacophony of whispers, voices clamored together, overlapping one another into a sea of gnashing cries. Champions of our fears. We must face it together. With that, she took a bold step toward the vortex, her feet unsteady on the trembling ground. As she moved, dozens of eyes bore into her, some reflecting admiration, others doubt, and a few flickering with the raw terror of impossibility. But the voices of the dead grew louder, twisting around her like a whirlwind of emotion. Sacrifice. They screamed again, the air thickening. Marissa swallowed hard, feeling the weight of countless souls pressing upon her. What does it mean? She wondered as the shadows surged forward, a tidal wave of raw emotion and haunting memories, clawing and grasping for release. Next to her, Tom stepped forward, shaking but resolute. If we're doing this, we do it now. I'm with you. He breathed, just loud enough for her to hear. For a moment, a flicker of hope ignited in Marissa's chest. Perhaps they could face this together after all. If sensing their alliance, the swirling shadows began to morph, faces emerged, grief-stricken eyes piercing through the darkness like stars trying to shine through a heavy cloud. The sound of muffled sobs echoed as if the spirits longed to connect, to share their stories, their fears. Marissa could sense their pain, and it was unbearable. The familiar chant shifted to a haunting melody, a symphony of sorrow that seemed to resonate in the very bones of the chapel. "We all carry burdens," Marissa shouted, her voice tearing through the dissonance. "But we can share them. Let us lift you from this darkness." Suddenly, the floor beneath them quaked violently. Tiles cracked and splintered, roots of the chapel breaking through the stone like the spirits fighting to be free. "We must not falter," she yelled, her voice almost lost in the crescendo. "Fight for your truths. Fight for the light." And in that moment, something extraordinary happened. The vortex gained stability, pulsating with a steady glow that began to seep hope into the terrified congregation. One by one, shadows shrank back, reluctantly releasing their grip on the living, as if Marissa's words pierced through the veil of despair, igniting something long extinguished within the souls hovering at the edge. Tom took her hand, squeezing it tightly. "I believe in you," he whispered, and his words ignited a spark of courage she never knew she possessed. Yet, just as victory seemed within reach, a ravenous roar echoed through the chapel. The shadows recoiled in rage, swirling into a furious tempest. "No!" they cried, a cacophony of wails reverberating like a nightmarish symphony. Marissa gasped, the room spinning wildly around her. "We are losing them." With desperation clawing at her throat, she felt the tether fraying. But as fear rose, so did her conviction. "Stand strong," she commanded, her voice gaining strength as the shadows twisted and turned. "In unity, we break the chains. No longer will you be prisoners." With that, she surged into the vortex, pulling everyone along. The air was electric, thick with determination and latent power. Would they overcome the encroaching darkness or get swallowed whole? Her heart raced as they spun into the unknown, and just like that, the vortex consumed them. What awaited them on the other side? Would they face a long-lost truth or fall deeper into despair? Marissa could only wonder as the light faded, plunging them into an unimaginable depth. Marissa's consciousness flickered like a dying ember as they spiraled through the vortex. Colors morphed and twisted, blending into a wild dance of light and dark that filled her senses. She felt both weightless and crushed, as if suspended between two worlds, yet wrapped in the presence of all the souls. Each heartbeat echoed through the emptiness, amplifying the pulse of fear that thrummed beneath her skin. "Stay together," she called out, the sound of her voice barely piercing the thickness surrounding them. Tom's hand gripped hers like a lifeline, grounding her as they plunged deeper. The scene suddenly shifted. With a violent pop, they landed in a strange new realm, one that felt less like a physical space and more like a memory caught in a dream. The colors were muted, like old photographs faded by time, and the air was heavy with an unmistakable tension. A vast, desolate landscape stretched before them, a battlefield littered with the remnants of forgotten struggles. Shadows writhed at the edges, restless, searching for something. "What is this place?" Tom whispered, fear creeping into his tone as he glanced around. "I don't know," Marissa breathed, her heart pounding as she stepped forward cautiously, feeling the rough ground against her bare feet. The ground felt as if it pulsed with the weight of unfulfilled promises and lost hopes. Just then, a figure emerged from the haze, faint and flickering like a dying candle. Marissa squinted, trying to discern its features. It was a woman, with eyes filled with centuries of sorrow that seemed to pierce through the veil of time itself. "Help us," the woman breathed, her voice a whisper carried on the wind. "We are trapped in eternal night. What does it mean?" Marissa replied, her own voice trembling. "Who are you?" But the figure only shook her head slowly, her form beginning to dissolve like mist in the morning light. "You must confront the darkness of your past. You are not alone." As she spoke, a chilling realization sank into Marissa's stomach. The weight of her memories, long buried, began to surface. The voices of her past mistakes made, regrets held filled her mind, reverberating with guilt. She was being pulled toward an unbearable truth. Marissa Tom's voice broke through her daze, his eyes wide with alarm. Something's wrong. The shadows began to coalesce into menacing shapes, distorted faces appearing as if mocking them. Each was a specter of grief and anger, people Marissa had known, loved ones she had lost. Face us! They screamed in unison, their cries piercing through Marissa's thoughts like daggers. You must pay for your errors. No. I want tea. She shouted, trying to silence their accusing wails, but the more she denied them, the louder their cries grew. They surged forward, shadows stretching to engulf her. Together. Tom shouted, pulling her back toward him. We can't give in. Marissa felt the warmth of his hand, a fierce reminder of their connection. We have to break this cycle, she exclaimed, drawing from the well of her inner strength. We face our fears not alone, but together. With every ounce of willpower, she focused on the shadows surrounding them. You are not my masters. I refuse to let you control me. The figures faltered, expressions of rage flipping into confusion. They recoiled as Marissa amplified her voice, filling the space with layers of conviction and perseverance. You don't own my past. You will not dictate my future. The shadows trembled, flickering at her words. For the first time, doubt crept into their haunting forms. Marissa stepped forward, emboldened, and reached out toward the closest figure. You can find peace. Let go of your pain and embrace the light. But just as clarity began to weave through the darkness, a deep rumble erupted in the ground beneath them. The earth quaked violently, sending shocks through her body. The figures swirled into a wind, erupting with anger once more. No! They screeched, their voices erupting in chaotic unison, a turbulent storm of voices and warnings. You cannot escape. Marissa's heart thundered in her chest, fear clawing at her throat. She glanced at Tom, their eyes locking as they pondered their next move. Would they stand firm in their resolve, or would the shadows drag them back into despair? As the ground beneath them split open, darkness surged forth like a churning sea, threatening to swallow them alive. Marissa realized she had to make a choice. Would she plunge into the depths of her fears or rise against the very shadows that sought to crush her? The moment of truth had arrived, but the answer loomed just out of reach, hidden in the battling chaos. What will you choose? Echoed a voice, eerily familiar and dripping with malice. Marissa could only hope she had the strength to find out. The ground beneath Marissa's feet shattered, cascading into a void that swallowed the light. She felt herself teetering at the edge. One wrong step, and everything would collapse. Tom's grip tightened on her hand, but even that felt like a fragile thread about to snap. Marissa. His voice cut through the chaos. We need to jump. Jump? Panic pulled at her. Below them lay an abyss, dark and endless, brimming with whispers of despair that clawed at her mind. They threatened to pull her down, those voices, those faces tumbling into the unfathomable depths. Yes. Tom urged, his eyes fierce, igniting a flame of determination in the storm of her fear. We need to confront them. We can't keep running. A shadow from the past slithered close, melding into the chaos unfolding around them. It was her mother, face twisted in anguish, eyes brimming with disappointment. You failed us, Marissa, it intoned, a haunting echo. Your choices led you here. No. Marissa shouted, shaking her head violently as she wrestled against the tormenting memory. I want to let you define me. The darkness seemed to pulse in response to her defiance, twisting and stirring with angry murmurs. Each word felt like a lash against her resolve, provoking her deepest insecurities. What if they were right? What if she had failed everyone? Stay with me. Tom's voice broke through her self-doubt, grounding her. She met his gaze, a lifeline in a stormy sea. Gathering her courage, she pulled from within, fortifying herself. Okay. Together, she murmured, just loud enough for Tom to hear. On 3. He instructed. Marissa felt the shadows tightening their grip, ready to snatch her breath away if she faltered. Every second felt stretched as if time itself reacted against their resolve. 3. They leaped into the void, hand in hand, propelled by hope and an unsteady determination. The wind roared around them, a cacophony of the lost, but together, they fell into a swirl of fading light. And then they landed hard. The impact sent shocks through her body, but they stood. The landscape morphed gradually, no longer a battlefield but a dimly lit room. It was a sanctuary filled with remnants of cherished moments, family portraits, doodles from her childhood, snapshots of laughter. But this wasn't just a space of nostalgia, it felt alive, thrumming with old memories caught in a web of unresolved emotions. A flickering light hovered above, casting gentle shadows across the room, yet it pulsed with an ominous energy. "Look," Tom said softly, pointing to an old, cracked mirror in the corner. Its surface shimmered, reflecting not just their faces but the tumultuous images of their past's moments of joy, fracture, and pain. Marissa felt drawn to it, compelled to understand. What if this is a way to see our truth? She mused, taking a step closer. Tom hesitated, his brow furrowing. Or it could reveal things we're not ready to face. But the mirror beckoned like a siren song. She swallowed hard, a lump in her throat, and whispered, "We can't shy away from what we need to confront." With a deep breath, she stepped forward. As she leaned closer, the surface rippled, revealing visions that clawed at her heart, her mistakes, the paths she had turned away from, the faces of those she had disappointed. Suddenly, a voice low and seductive, layered with bitterness, whispered from the depths of the reflection. "You thought you could escape, but your past is woven into every fiber of your being. You cannot hide from what you've done." Marissa jolted back, fear coursed through her veins, hot and insistent. "No. This isn't who I am." But as she stumbled, Tom steadied her, his voice firm. "We have to see this through, Marissa. It's the only way to defeat the shadows." As they stood before the mirror, a choice loomed, to engage with the painful truth or retreat back into the consuming darkness. But from behind them, an unsettling laughter echoed, deep and malevolent, causing the hairs on the back of her neck to stand. "Your journey has only just begun," the voice slithered through the air, signaling a deeper threat. Lurking beyond their reach, Marissa's heart raced as she lined her resolve against the veil of shadows closing in. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of generations behind her. The time had come to shatter the mirror. What horrors would meet them on the other side? What awaited them after this confrontation? With resolve in her heart, she raised her fist, ready to confront whatever evil lay ahead. Marissa's fist met the mirror with a crack like thunder, the sound echoing in the dim room. The glass splintered under her strike, shards bursting outward, each fragment reflecting not only her terrified face but myriad shadows writhing at the edges, waiting to consume her. Tom yelled, "Marissa, watch out." He lunged forward, but the glass erupted like fireworks, a cascade of shimmering danger. A few shards grazed her skin, sending hot, stinging pain coursing through her arm, but she didn't falter. She couldn't at the moment, felt suspended in time as she watched the mirror fracture, her own history breaking apart before her. Images around her blurred, morphing as waves of agony surged, but within that chaos, clarity sparked. Her past, her regrets all etched on the splintered pieces, grotesquely beautiful in their own right. "Face it, Marissa." The voice taunted, though it seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You think breaking the mirror shatters the burden of your truth? It only opens the path to what you've kept hidden. Shut up." Marissa shouted, each word strengthened by her gathering resolve. She gritted her teeth and stepped through the jagged hole left in the mirror's wake, the air cool against her flushed skin. As she passed through, the room shifted. Colors brightened, yet darkness seeped in from every corner, clinging to her like smoke. Tom was at her side, his eyes wide with both fear and admiration. "You did it!" he gasped. "Not yet," she breathed, knowing that this was only the beginning. The ceiling above twisted into beams of darkness, swirling like a storm gathering strength. The broken pieces of the mirror hung in the air, suspended in a haunt of memories. The laughter that had once lurked faded to a whisper, replaced by something far more sinister. Suddenly, shadows stretched and multiplied, forming dark figures that writhed in front of them. They took shape, individuals from her past, their faces twisted in pain. Each one embodied a failure, a sorrow she carried. Mom. Marissa recognized the first shadow, her mother's sorrowful features etched deeply in the dark. What do you want? The tremor in her voice betrayed her facade. You've always run from us, Marissa. The shadow's voice dripped with bitterness. From the truth of your choices, from the pain left in your wake. You can't escape us now. The shadows surged forward, and each figure spoke in unison, embrace your failures, or be swallowed by them. You're not worthy of peace. Enough. Tom shouted, stepping between Marissa and the encroaching darkness. You don't have to listen to them. But fear gripped Marissa tightly, squeezing her heart. The figures leered, their eyes glinting with a terrifying hunger. What if they were right? Her breath quickened, panic clawing at her throat. She remembered every mistake, every moment of betrayal, those she had let down, and the ghost of her own expectations. Marissa, remember who you are. Tom urged, his voice breaking through the fog of despair. You fought too hard to let them take you down. We can do this together. He reached for her, and for a heartbeat, their hands met again, an electric jolt of hope igniting within her. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting his warmth wash over her. He was right, she didn't have to fight alone. Marissa opened her eyes, finding strength in Tom's unwavering gaze. You're wrong. I am more than my past. I choose to confront you. She screamed, her voice rising above the cacophony. She stepped forward, ready to reclaim her narrative. A low growl shook the air, and the shadows recoiled slightly. You dare challenge us? With every ounce of strength she had, Marissa pushed against the dark tide, envisioning the light she longed for, a bright future unshackled from her past's chains. But as the shadows fluttered like startled birds, a new figure emerged, tall and cloaked in an impossible darkness that radiated a chilling authority. Let us see how brave you really are, Marissa. Her pulse thundered in her ears. Who was this new threat? What more could they take from her? The confrontation had only just begun. Marissa tightened her grip on Tom's hand. Ready or not, they had to face this together, whatever it might bring. What lay in store ahead could shatter them or set them free. Would they find the courage to confront the true source of their fears? The cloaked figure loomed closer, a palpable aura of dread shrouding it like a storm cloud. Marissa felt her stomach drop, her heart thudding wildly against her ribs. Whatever this entity was, it was powerful, and it exuded an enigmatic threat that sent chills spiraling down her spine. Who are you? Marissa stammered, gripping Tom's hand tighter, searching his face for reassurance. But the look in his eyes mirrored her own panic, filled with uncertainty. The shadows squirmed, clamoring around them like hungry wolves, taunting and whispering in a language only they understood. I am the keeper of your deepest fears, the figure spoke, its voice a smooth and sinister murmur, reverberating through the air. And tonight, we will uncover the truth you've hidden even from yourself. The shadows shrieked, pulling back as if they feared this newcomer. Marissa's mind raced. What truth? Can she trust this figure? A cold sweat formed on her brow. I don't know what you want from me. Oh, but you do. It pressed, stepping forward, its dark cloak billowing like smoke. You've buried truth after truth, hiding from the pain. But you can't run forever. Not when the past is so hungry. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew thick, the room vibrating with unbridled energy. Marissa felt the weight of every moment she had tried to forget crashing down on her like a tidal wave. One image broke through the veil of shadows, a memory from her childhood, a birthday party where laughter turned to a cold silence, disappointment lining her mother's face. The echoes of unspoken words hung heavy in the air. Marissa stumbled backward. "No, please. I don't want to see this." But as she tried to shut out the painful memory, it grew clearer, sharper. She could feel the sting of tears she had never shed, hear the words she wished had never been spoken. "Remember how it felt to be the failure?" The figure urged, relentless. "You have always been running, but now it is time to stand." In that moment, a flicker of defiance ignited within her. "I want to be defined by my mistakes." The words came out stronger this time, carrying the weight of her past's burden. "I can confront them." With that realization, light began to seep through the cracks in the darkness. Tom's hand surged with warmth, radiating a fierce glow that began to push back the encroaching shadows. "Together, Marissa. We take it on together." The cloaked figure faltered, its power wavering in the luminous presence of their unity. The shadows hissed, swirling as if they were alive and desperately trying to resist the burgeoning light. "Ah, the boy thinks he can save you." The figure laughed, dark and hollow. "But only you can decide if you'll let these truths surface." Marissa stood tall, feeling the warmth expand in her chest. She could reclaim her history. Each shard of memory was a piece of her every hurt, every joy. "I choose to embrace my truth," she shouted, feeling every word resonate deep within. The luminous barrier expanded, enveloping them as the shadows writhed and the keeper of fears recoiled. For the first time, Marissa could feel the darkness slipping away, shrieking in anger but powerless against her resolve. "Don't think you've won," the figure rasped, the voice twisting like the shadows themselves. "You've only just begun to scrape the surface." As the last of the dark figures dissolved into an ash-like mist, Marissa felt both relief and trepidation mingle within her. What awaited her on the other side of this confrontation? She sensed a new challenge looming just beneath the surface, darker and deeper than the previous shadows. "Marissa, look!" Tom pointed, his voice cracking, ushering her attention to a swirling portal that had formed in the air behind them. It shimmered between reality and illusion. "Is that? What if it leads to something worse?" Marissa whispered, fear creeping back in, yet the defiant spark ignited within her wouldn't dim. She had faced the shadows of her past. They had no hold on her anymore. "There's no turning back now," she declared, her heart pounding as she stepped toward the swirling energies. "We need to face what's next." But the moment she drew near, a voice echoed again, reverberating as though from the depths of the new abyss. "Welcome to the depths, Marissa. Your real trial begins now." As her foot hovered above the threshold, uncertainty and bravery warred inside her. Would they plunge into another dark truth, or would they find the freedom that fear had kept hidden? This was their moment. The storm ahead was coming, and they had to be ready. What awaited them beyond the darkness? Only time would tell. Stepping through the portal was like plunging into ice-cold water. Marissa gasped as a rush of unfamiliar sensations enveloped her. The air around them shimmered, warping their surroundings into an abstract landscape of swirling colors and distorted shapes. It was disorienting, as if stepping through the fabric of reality itself. "Where are we?" Tom's voice trembled, barely a whisper against the chaotic backdrop. Marissa blinked, adjusting to the overload of sights and sounds. "Do you feel that?" she asked, her heart pounding. There was a strange undercurrent in this place, a rhythm of pulses echoing like a heartbeat. It surged through her, drawing her deeper. Before she could answer, the landscape shifted again, unfolding like the pages of an ancient book. Suddenly, they stood amidst gray stones and gnarled trees that loomed over headstones, each engraved with names long forgotten. The oppressive sense of dread seeped into her, an unsettling voice whispering from the stones. "This is a graveyard?" Tom gasped. "No, I think it's more of a mausoleum for lost truths," Marissa murmured, eyes darting. The air felt thick, a visceral reminder of the weight of the past. But as they stepped further in, dark figures emerged from the shadows, shapes woven from the very fabric of their buried memories. Faces contorted in pain, anger, and betrayal. They reached out, ghostly hands grasping at Marissa, inviting her to confront the mistakes she thought she had laid to rest. Marissa, one figure, a woman with hollow eyes, wept, "Do you remember me? Who are you?" Marissa stuttered, alarm knifing through her. "I am the daughter you abandoned. You chose freedom over family and betrayed the love I had for you." The words fell like stones, heavy and unforgiving. Marissa stumbled back, shock coursing through her. "No. I didn't. That's not true." "Oh, but it is," the figure replied, voice chillingly calm. "The choice you made has haunted you. You can't run from it here. Face your truth, and perhaps you'll find the release you seek." Tom pulled her hand. "Marissa, maybe we can help her, maybe we can help all of them." His voice steadied her, grounding her. They had confronted shadows before, could they do it again? Shaking off the weight of guilt, Marissa straightened. "No more hiding," she declared, the words loud and fierce against the echoes of despair surrounding them. "I acknowledge my mistakes. But I won't let guilt control me." The figures faltered, their faces wavering like smoke caught in a windstorm. Marissa felt the shiver of defiance spark inside her again. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice softer now, trembling with sincerity. "I'm sorry I made those choices. But I've learned, and I am trying to be better." The woman's eyes softened, the anger fading into something more painful. "You still must let go," she whispered. "Let us free." As Marissa took a step forward, a wave of heat burst through her. It radiated from her very soul, casting light in the grave's shadows. With Tom beside her, the darkness began to peel back, revealing the truth behind each face. But just as the light surged, a black mist sprang from the ground, swirling with sinister energy. "You think you can escape that easily?" Marissa's heart sank. The cloaked figure from before materialized again, its laugh echoing through the graveyard. "Your past is relentless, and now it will consume you. Get ready, Marissa." Tom shouted, bracing himself beside her, his voice thundering against the onslaught. "We face it together." But the mist thickened, surrounding them, pulling them away. As the light flickered, only a part of Marissa's heart remained resolute. Could she truly confront what the depths demanded of her? The shadows writhed, thickening and closing in, ready to make their final stand. Just as panic threatened to sink in, the figures around them began to glow, uniting within the brilliance of Marissa's acknowledgement. "Are you prepared to see the judgments you've cast upon yourself?" Their chorus floated through the air. The portal behind them began to dissolve, pulling them into an unknown fate. Marissa and Tom exchanged a determined glance. Every moment of fear had led them here, but what choice would they make now? "Let us do this," she whispered, stepping into the heart of darkness, as the gravity of her past rushed to meet her once more. Would it be salvation or destruction waiting for them on the other side? Only the depths knew what secrets were still hidden. Marissa felt her spirit surge as she stepped into the claustrophobic darkness. Echoes of her past awaited her. The shadows swirled, angry and vengeful, but she clung tight to the memory of Tom's support, his steady presence igniting a flicker of courage within her. "We're ready," she cried, her voice trembling but resolute. As the darkness thickened, memories began to flood her mind like a torrential downpour, each one more harrowing than the last. Faces twisted in despair haunted her, friends lost, loyalties broken, love tossed aside for the illusion of freedom. The old wounds tore open, exposing raw pain. "You abandoned us!" they screamed, voices swirling around her as if a tempest enveloped her heart, but she stood her ground. "No. I did not abandon you," Marissa shouted, her heart racing as she felt the weight of their accusation pressing down. "I was lost, but not beyond saving. I fought to find my way back. I'm here now." The cloaked figure surged forward, an amalgamation of despair and doubt. "You cannot absolve your sins so easily," it mocked, its voice a hissing whisper. "You will pay the ultimate price." The anger of the shadows crescendoed, but in that moment of chaos, Tom rallied beside her, placing a hand firmly on her shoulder. "Look!" he called out, his voice cutting through the murky air. "They're your memories. They're a part of you. But you don't have to let them control you." Marissa's breath quickened as understanding dawned. These figures surrounding her weren't merely antagonists, they were fragments of her own soul, remnants of choices she needed to face and embrace. "You're right," she exclaimed, a rush of clarity igniting within her. "You can't hold me back anymore. I am not afraid to face the truth." With every ounce of her being, she turned her gaze fiercely toward the shadows. "I accept my past. Every mistake, every heartache, I embrace them to move forward. You are not my captors, you are my reminders. I will not let fear dictate my life any longer." The shadows recoiled, the cloaked figure screaming in rage. "No. This cannot be." An intense light enveloped her, pulsing through the wreckage of her past, illuminating the darkness around them. The faces around her flickered, uncertainty clouding their features, and for the first time, the weight of her memories did not feel like a shackle, it felt like a shield. The illumination spread, drawing whispers of sorrow back into the light. "Let them go," Tom shouted, his courage counteracting the fading shadows. "Let them free." Marissa felt a swell of strength course through her as she unleashed her voice into the depths. "You are free to rise. You've haunted me long enough. I release you." In that moment, the shadows began to dissolve, transforming into ethereal wisps that spiraled upwards, and the anguished faces filled with peace as they floated toward the skies, their cries shifting from sorrow to song, echoing in harmony. A collective sigh swept through the air, the cloaked figure's fury raged against their newfound strength, but hopelessness settled into its eyes. Marissa dared to step forward. "This ends now," she declared, channeling every ounce of light and love she had ever known. "You cannot hold me captive. I will choose to live and love, not fear." With a fierce cry, she thrust her hand towards the figure, energy radiating from her fingertips. The light enveloped it, and the being began to crack, splintering like glass. "No. I will not be cast out." It shrieked, but it was too late. The light exploded outward, consuming the encroaching darkness in a brilliant flash. Marissa shielded herself as the explosion reverberated through the realm, but when she opened her eyes, she found herself standing in the chapel once more, the ancient manuscript on the altar glowing softly as the shadows fled, leaving nothing but remnants of their whispers. The townsfolk, hearts racing and eyes wide with astonishment, peered into the aftermath. Marissa took a deep breath, overwhelmed yet grounded. "It's over," she said, her voice steady, embodying newfound conviction. We've faced the darkness. We've chosen to let it go. A hush fell over the crowd, but unity built in their midst. One by one, people stepped forward, nodded in understanding, some even teared up, acknowledging their own burdens and fears. Together, they were a tapestry of strength, woven from the threads of shared pain and the flames of hope. Tom reached for Marissa's hand, squeezing it in solidarity. "You changed everything," he said, admiration shining in his gaze. Marissa smiled, her heart swelling. "No, we did this together." As the sun broke through the chapel's windows, casting fragrant warmth into the air, clarity washed over the townsfolk. They were no longer bound by shadows but freed by their collective truth, a promise of rebuilding and reconnecting with what it meant to be human. And as they walked out, hand in hand, into the light, Marissa realized this journey was merely the beginning. The chapters of her life would continue to unfold, a narrative enriched with lessons learned and moments cherished. But she wouldn't walk alone anymore. Marissa smiled softly, and a flutter of hope spread through her as she led her community into the world outside, one where light would always outshine the darkness they once feared. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share this incredible conclusion with your friends. Smash that like button now to keep the algorithm alive. Your support is vital to bring more stories like this. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And remember, now more than ever, the time to show your support is right now. You don't want to miss out on any thrilling content ahead.